Just like to say, obviously the people here know all these things. I hope you had a good weekend, even if you didn't have any time off, Mel. I'm just saying. You got to eat some chocolate. That we now have the new SSP rules. We now have the new SSP rules. They do apply to 0-hour workers. If you have not given your 0-hour workers a contract stating that they are 0 hours, they are not 0-hour workers. They are part-time workers. We've got a question in today from a client going, "Oh, do we have to pay SSP to 0 hours? How have you not got this? Have you been living under a rock?" Yes, you have to pay it to 0 hours workers. He then goes on to say, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're doing rolled up holiday pay." Okay, slightly concerning what that actually means to you. So rolled up holiday pay can be the 12.07% times the working hours of 0 hours employees, and then times the number of hours by their normal hourly rate. And that's paid out every month. That is a form of rolled up holiday pay. What I'm worried about is that somebody has misread the advice and gone, "Oh, people are on minimum wage, of which £1.60 is for their holidays. So therefore, we're paying the minimum wage, and £1.60 of that minimum wage is for holiday. Therefore, we don't have to pay them when they're on holiday." And it's like, no. If you're going to do it that way, rather than using 12.07%, it's always minimum wage plus £1.60, not minus £1.60. And it has to be detailed separately on the payslip as holiday pay. You cannot do it that you're going to go, "Oh yeah, but it's in your salary." No, that would be illegal. So if you are going to do rolled up holiday pay other than 12.07%, then you need to make sure it's on top of whatever you're paying now, not included in whatever you're paying them now. And yes, SSP does apply to 0 hours to all employees from day one of employment, from day one of sickness. And please look at my email from last Thursday where we went through that quite clearly. I can resend that out if you need it, but the people who are on here probably don't need it because they've sorted themselves out. So, questions. Anybody got a question today? Dawn?
Well, it's not a question as such, but I was a little bit gutted about this because we've just had a food and beverage person start first 2 days off sick.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like a kick there, isn't
Yeah.
it? I was just like, oh, we've got to pay her for that as well. And she's just started, yeah. So that was a bit gutting. Nothing you can do about that though, is there?
No, that's really irritating. Did she what did she say she was off with?
Oh, I can't remember. I can't remember what it was, virus or something. Yeah.
Wow.
First 2 days, sick.
Yeah.
Oh, keep an eye on that one.
I know.
In terms of her attendance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No,
Did she follow the absence reporting procedure?
Yes, she did. And she's done I've made all my HODs make sure they have to fill out the SC2 forms and everything, and they've got to report it and etc. Yeah. Otherwise they're not going to get it.
No, exactly. Gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Nadia, what would you like to talk about today?
Actually, Dawn, that goes really nicely into roughly what I want to talk about, which, is on everybody's mind this week. It is related to absence. So we see this so much, guys, where, especially with newer employees, employees are not following the absence reporting procedure correctly, as stated in your handbook. I cannot tell you how many times a week I have to say this. Like, if I had a bingo card, seriously, read your handbook and see what it says in there, what the actual absence reporting procedure is. Inform your staff that is the absence reporting procedure and enforce it. If it's not correct, tell us and we'll change it. It is important that the two things match up, that you don't have something written somewhere, but in practice you do something else, and even worse, each department does something different and each manager accepts something different. Because And that really weakens your position with staff if you want to do something about them not following the absence reporting procedure. Because if I work for Mel, I'm going to pick on you for no particular reason other than that on my screen, you're right next to me. So if I work for Mel and I text Mel 5 minutes before my start time, and I say, Mel, I'm not feeling great today, I'm not coming in. I'll let you know when I feel better, but I'm not coming in today. And Mel goes, yeah, no worries. It's okay, cool, hope you feel better. And it's like, great, fine, no problem. I maybe do the same tomorrow morning, or maybe I text tonight and say, I'm still not well, probably won't be back in tomorrow. I'll let you know how it goes. And then, maybe I'm off sick for 2 days, maybe I've got a bad tummy. And then I come back into work and Mel's like, oh, great to see you back. And on we go with our lives, right? In Mel's mind, I followed the absence reporting procedure. I contacted her before the start of my shift and I told her I was ill and I did it both days. Great. Is that what it says in writing in my handbook? Or does it say in the handbook that I have to call to speak to my manager at least 1 hour before the start of my shift? And that text messages, WhatsApp messages is not acceptable. Is that what it actually says in my handbook, in your handbook? Because now, 6 months later, I don't do it again. And again, 5 minutes beforehand, I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling great, I'm not coming in. And Mal's thinking, okay, well, I'm not there this week, so now this is a problem for me, and now I'm upset about it. And actually, the handbook says this. You can't enforce this now because you have accepted something different from me in the past. You can't say to me, you did not follow the correct absence reporting procedure as per the staff handbook, because I will read the staff handbook and go, you've never made me do this before. What? What is this? You can't enforce something if you let it go. If you're lenient about it, then you can't then in the future, when you've now reached a point where you don't like it or it's inconvenient for you, enforce that. So either you look at what it says, you go, yes, that's what I want. You inform all staff that this is what it says and that is how you do it going forward, and you enforce that correctly and you deal with it when it's not done like that. Or you look at it and you go, no, you know what? We really prefer WhatsApp as long as it's sort of 15 minutes before they start. We're happy with that. We won't agree with it, but we will amend your wording for you to be correct. So that at least then the thing you're enforcing matches up with the way that you operate. But the two things have to match up. And if you are in the situation where for the most of your golf club, Dawn, sorry, I know you don't have a golf club, but if for most of the golf club, you do enforce that rule, but for greens, you don't want the head greenkeeper to get phone calls at 4 o'clock in the morning on his phone while he's still trying to get his last 15 minutes of sleep, to say that someone is going to be off sick. And actually for them, maybe you have amended the rule to say, as long as you put it in the WhatsApp group an hour before start time so that everyone can see that you're not going to be in that day, or as long as you send a message and contact your manager, WhatsApp is acceptable 1 hour before your start time. And then what we will do is we will draft a special sort of amendment that you will issue to your greens team to say that the rule is amended for that department and this is what it is. But please get this right, because I have so many times had to say to someone, yeah, what they're doing isn't right. Absolutely. And if you had enforced that correctly in the past, sure, you could do something about it. But you can't do something about it now and say, oh, but the handbook says, when you've never enforced what the handbook said before. So we all have to get on top of this attendance thing and paying SSP from day one. And this is one of the ways that you're going to do it, by just making people follow the rules the way that the rules are written. So yeah, please go and see what your handbook says. Please make sure that it is what you actually want and is actually how you want to do it. and let us know if it's not, and we need to make a change for you.
Yeah.
Any questions about that? Sorry, Mel.
No, it's fine. I was just reading, making sure ours was right as well. So
Good.
but you're right. I mean, it's the first few days, and we've had exactly that scenario already this week. We've had a head of department realise that somebody's not very well. They've said to them, if you're not well enough tomorrow, then just let me know, and we'll make sure it's covered. He's on the head of department's going on leave. And they've made that arrangement between them. So I've then gone into the kitchen on that morning and said, oh, so-and-so's not in. I said, have you filled the form in? He said, yeah, I will do it in a minute. But he's not followed, the head of department has not followed the procedure. We've got the procedure in place. It's like, you can't just make that arrangement with the individual. Follow the procedure. No. And we'll all be all right. But that's just what happens when you manage people. I'm sure that Dawn appreciates that as well, that you can put the procedures in place, you can, lead the horse to water, so to speak, but trying to get them to do everything. It's not just filling in sick forms, it's the whole thing.
No,
so
I think, though, if you hold their head underwater, the horse's metaphorical head underwater, it kind of works. They will drink eventually. So
can I is that recorded? Great, I'll do that. That's the new...
Yes, as official HR advice.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yes. Lorraine, you had a question.
Yes, sorry, just on that. Our greenkeepers obviously do green work, additional overtime work at weekends sometimes. What happens with that with sick pay, statutory sick pay? Are they eligible if they call in on a Saturday sick? Because we haven't paid them before because it's been overtime. Has anything changed?
But they've been doing other overtime on a weekend, haven't they? So they're scheduled to do work on a weekend, yeah?
Yeah.
And they call in sick. So what you're looking at is the weekly pay, not the day pay. Yeah. So the weekly pay is whatever their average weekly is. So there is a cap. Sorry, I've gone around in a bit of a circle there. So if they're earning over the lower earnings level, which they will be, they get £123.25 for the week on SSP. Or they get their full sick pay if they've still got any left. So that's what they would get if they've called in sick on a Saturday.
Okay. All right then.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But again, it's following that absence reporting procedure because particularly with short service employees, if they are following it, despite us telling them to do so, that is a legal thing to part company, no matter what the reasons are. Yeah.
Wow. So previously, if they've got over a year's service, they're eligible for full club sick pay. But if they've called in sick on a weekend shift, I don't believe, I'll have to check with our finance manager who does the payroll, but I don't believe we paid them for that, like a Saturday shift, which is overtime. I'll have to double check.
I don't know that you would. I don't know how so do you pay the overtime every month when they do it? How do you usually pay the overtime if they had worked it?
We pay it on a monthly basis.
Okay.
As overtime work.
It's not time off in lieu instead or anything?
No, it's paid green work, yeah.
So, Lorraine, what you're saying is that if someone called in sick for a shift that's not part of their normal shift, so it would, because it was an overtime shift, you just wouldn't pay them any sick pay for it. They would not get paid if they called in sick for that shift.
I believe so, yeah. As far as I'm aware, that's what I think we've been doing.
Yeah, so basically, as soon as they've been scheduled for that shift and they've accepted that shift, it's the same as with 0-hour people. I think I said this last week. As soon as that shift's been scheduled, you have to pay them sick pay if they call in sick for the shift, even if it's an overtime shift. I agree with Caroline. What you end up paying them is a bit more grey in that situation, definitely. I wouldn't definitely not pay them the overtime rate. Like I would just stick to the normal rate. But if the question is, do I pay or don't I pay? If the shift has been scheduled and they call in sick for that shift, you need to pay them, as in any other situation with any other employee.
Right, something just made me think of it, and I'll have to go back and check what it does. But okay, thank you.
So you're not paying them the 6 hours or whatever hours they were going to be paid for that. What you're paying them is the pro rata entitlement to SSP or full sick pay, again, it's knowing where they are, but it says SSP is £123.25 a week. So if they're off for a day, that is a seventh of that.
Okay.
So that might be more or less than what they would have earned, but that is what you'd be paying them, not the whatever hours they would have worked. That's not what you're paying them. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No. What was I going to say? Oh, health and safety. Health and safety, particularly in greens teams, particularly in kitchens. Health and safety infringements are gross misconduct. They are gross misconduct. Don't collect infringements. Don't collect, oh, they did this. And then 2 weeks later, they did that. And now 4 weeks later, I'm coming to you because they've done a third thing. No. Call us after the first thing you've discovered. I was talking through with a club this morning about they have just done a disciplinary for gross misconduct, for health and safety infringements. Okay, so that was that thing. And then they said, oh yeah, and of course he's done other things wrong in the time we've been waiting to do the disciplinary. And there are another 3 health and safety infringements, at least one of which would have contributed to the gross misconduct dismissal. Now, they haven't spoken to him about it. They've just dealt with whatever the issues were. And I'm like, given we're already having a disciplinary on health and safety infringements, why are you not telling us that there are more infringements, that if we had enough time, we can actually add them into the disciplinary? We'd still need to do an investigation on them, absolutely. But then we can say, if we've got enough time, say another week or 10 days before the disciplinary date, because it was a long way in advance, this was not a quick process, we can say, actually, we're going to add this into the gross misconduct disciplinary process. Oh, and we're going to add this in. Oh, and we're going to add this in. And that's usually when the employee resigns with immediate effect or comes to us and asks for a settlement agreement. So it's not going, oh, well, it's only one thing, it's not a big deal. You haven't locked up the chemical storage. That is part of health and safety to lock it up. You haven't done that. That needs to be addressed right away. We don't wait until we've got other 2 things. And then it turns out there's another thing. There was a breach of confidentiality, which turned out to not be confidentiality, but he was putting a member of the golf club under duress to try and make him lie for him, so that it was then the member's problem that he'd sold him a faulty heater, when actually the member hadn't sold him a faulty heater, but he wanted him to lie on his behalf. And it's like, and they've got that as a written complaint from the member, strangely enough. And it's like, okay, we have got enough to dismiss. He obviously won't go quietly. They never go quietly with these type of things. Or we can do a settlement agreement, and we're probably going to go do that as plan A, settlement agreement. But all these things build into negotiations. But the point is that they're only mentioning them as an aside. It's like, oh yeah, and he did that, and he shouldn't have. And it's like, what's he done? You need it, everything that's health and safety, that's intimidation, that's anything rude, swearing. It's like, absolutely, to share that, because those are things that we can use at the very minimum in a negotiation for a settlement agreement. Worst case, if they get silly about the settlement agreement amount of money, they go into possibly into gross misconduct dismissal. But even if we don't do that, even if it's just a final written warning, they would go into the next disciplinary process. But it's keeping that process going. And that's the other thing. And again, preaching to the converted on this call, but you have an issue, a gross misconduct issue, behaviour issue. You investigate it within 1-2 days of the incident. We then send out the invite so that they have disciplinary within certainly within a week, but 4 days would be great of the investigation, and then they have the right of appeal. It's done within 2 weeks. That is, I appreciate that's the ideal world, and everybody's got other things they need to be juggling, but taking 2 months, which is what this club has done, undermines the claim that this is gross misconduct, also because they've let him carry on working because they didn't have anybody else to do the work. And all of that it's just compounding. I mean, we're getting them into a process now, but it's just all these processes need to be done in a timely manner, because they're there to protect you, that you're doing it fair and reasonably as the employer. But they need to keep going. We can't pause them. It's like, oh, because, you know, Bob's really good at doing this, so we'll wait until Bob comes back from holiday. No, we won't. We'll do somebody else and we'll do it next week because we don't want to wait. It's not fair on the employee. And actually, we get a resolution and have done the appeal by the time Bob comes back. There's no advantage to dragging it out at all as the employer. Maybe as the employee, because you've still not been dismissed, but certainly not as the employer. So it's just keep on top and flag things up to us immediately, even if we say, actually, that's not enough, but keep an eye on it, okay?
Yeah, Caroline's right there. I just want to kind of repeat that. It weakens your case. If you have something that could potentially be gross misconduct and you're just living with it because it's convenient or inconvenient to remove that person from the business as soon as possible, you're really saying it's okay. You're really saying, what you're really saying is it's not so bad. It's okay. We can deal with it. It's not so bad. To then go back later and say, oh, now it's gross misconduct because, you know, now we've hired another chef and we're not in trouble and we can afford to lose this one. Now all of this stuff's gross misconduct. That really weakens your case, and you are going to get challenged on that if there's a claim to say, well, if it was really so bad, why, you know, if his health and safety breaches were so bad, why did you continue to let him manage the kitchen for another 6 weeks until you hired someone else? Seems like it was okay. And you won't have an answer for that. And with health and safety stuff, we can tell you if there's one thing, there's more. People are either they do health and safety stuff correctly or they don't. So if you found one health and safety problem in a kitchen, you can go looking. You're going to find the rest. And as a matter of fact, as soon as you suspend that chef, you'll see all the other things come up. Because if they're cutting corners in one place with health and safety, they're doing it everywhere.
And
any question? Sorry.
So all very positive as always. Yes. Yeah, and the suspension thing, I'm going to say the same for head greenkeepers as it is for head chefs. It's amazing what people are willing to tell you once they know they're not going to be, you know, either verbally or physically abused by their manager. So it really is best to get rid of them, get them out of the environment, and then say, so how's it been working with this chef? Oh, you'll never believe what he's been doing, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, it would be nice if you told me that, you know, when it happened. That'd be great. But yes. So I think that's everything for this week. I've eaten all my Easter eggs, just saying. I've only got some mini eggs left, and I'm having to you know, ration those because once they're gone, they're gone. And I really like mini eggs, so that's not good. Fine, let's see what happens for next week. I'm sure we'll have some more horror stories next week. So everybody have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you want a free peace of mind call with us to discuss your policies, handbook, and any burning staff issues in your business, click the link in the description below.